You're overthinking this. It's just Wi-Fi, she laughed, when I noticed her phone auto-connected at my best friend's place. But she even knew where he kept his towels. I haven't confronted either of them yet. So I've been with my girlfriend Sarah for almost 2 years now, and we've been talking about moving in together once my lease is up in April. Things have been intense lately, but I thought it was just normal relationship growing pains. When we first started dating, Sarah was incredible. Like, almost too good to be true incredible. She'd surprise me with my favorite coffee, remember every little thing I mentioned, and made me feel like I was the most important person in the world. But over the past year, things have slowly shifted. She started making little comments about my friends, how Nathan was clearly jealous of our relationship, and how my college buddies were holding me back from growing up. At first I thought she was just being protective. Then the financial stuff started. Sarah has a good job in marketing, but she started having these emergencies. Her car broke down, her roommate bilaid on rent, her mom needed help with medical bills. I helped out because that's what you do for someone you love, right? But it meant I was dipping into my savings, and when I mentioned maybe we should slow down on expensive dates, she'd get this hurt look and say things like, "I thought you cared about making memories together," or "money shouldn't matter when you love someone." The weird thing is, every time I'd start feeling overwhelmed or wanting to hang out with my friends more, something would happen. Sarah would have a panic attack, or there'd be some crisis with her family, or she'd plan something special for us. I started canceling plans with the guys more and more. Sarah would always say she understood if I wanted to go, but then she'd get quiet and withdrawn, and I'd end up staying home to make sure she was okay. My stomach is literally in knots writing this because I'm starting to realize how messed up this sounds, but at the time it felt like being a good boyfriend. So last night, we finally decided I'd move in with her in April. I was excited but also nervous. Living together is a big step. I texted Nathan to tell him the news because he's been my best friend since college. He offered to take us out for drinks to celebrate, said we could meet at his place first and then Uber to this new bar downtown. Sarah seemed hesitant but agreed when Nathan mentioned he'd pay for the first round. Here's where it gets weird. We get to Nathan's house, and Sarah immediately says she needs to use the bathroom. She's been to Nathan's place maybe twice before, always just briefly when we were picking him up to go somewhere. She sets her phone and purse on his kitchen table and heads straight to the bathroom without asking where it is. Nathan had gone back outside to move his car, so I'm just standing there. Her phone buzzes with a text, and she calls from the bathroom asking me to check if it's her friend Emma getting back to her about joining us tonight. I pick up her phone and that's when I see it. Her phone shows it's connected to Nathan Wi-Fi 5G. I check my own phone and his network requires a password. My hands started shaking. I mean, there could be explanations, right? Maybe she'd connected before during one of those brief visits. But I tested it, I tried connecting to his network and it immediately asked for a password. Her phone was connected like it remembered the network. When she came out of the bathroom, she went straight to Nathan's cabinet and grabbed a glass for water. Didn't hesitate, didn't ask, just knew exactly where everything was. I feel like I'm going crazy. The rational part of my brain is trying to make excuses, but my gut is screaming that something is very, very wrong. I haven't said anything yet because I'm terrified of what this means. If Sarah has been to Nathan's place enough times to know his Wi-Fi password and where he keeps his glasses, then my girlfriend and my best friend have been. What? Meeting up without me. I can't lose both of them. Sarah has become my whole world over these past 2 years, and Nathan has been my rock through everything. But I can't shake this feeling that my entire life has been built on lies. I don't know what to do. Am I overthinking this? Is there some innocent explanation I'm missing? I feel like I'm about to throw up. Edit. Holy shit, this post blew up. I'm trying to read all your comments. Some of you are asking if she could have connected to his Wi-Fi during previous visits. I thought about that, but she's only been inside his place twice before, both times very briefly, and she was with me the whole time. Also, his Wi-Fi name isn't something you'd guess. A lot of you are telling me to just ask her directly. I want to, but I'm scared. What if I'm wrong and I ruin everything over a Wi-Fi connection? But what if I'm right and my whole relationship is a lie? For those asking about the financial stuff, I've given her about $3,500 over the past year. It felt normal at the time because she always paid me back eventually, but now I'm wondering if that was part of keeping me financially tied to her. Update 1. Posted 2 weeks ago, you guys called it. Every single one of you who said, trust your gut, and this is classic manipulation. You were right, and I wish I'd listened to that voice in my head sooner. First, thank you to everyone who responded to my original post. The overwhelming response made me realize I wasn't crazy for being suspicious. I spent 3 days reading every comment, and the patterns you all pointed out made me start looking at my relationship with fresh eyes. I decided to talk to Sarah on Friday night. I'd planned this whole careful conversation, but when I looked at her sitting on my couch, acting like everything was normal, I just couldn't do it anymore. I asked her directly about the Wi-Fi. The conversation went exactly like some of you predicted. First, she looked confused and said she didn't know what I was talking about. Then she suggested maybe her phone had picked up a neighbor's network or connected to some random open Wi-Fi. When I pressed her on how she knew where Nathan's bathroom and glasses were, she got defensive. "Are you seriously interrogating me over Wi-Fi?" she said. "This is crazy, babe. You're being paranoid." But here's the thing, thanks to your comments, I recognized this immediately as gaslighting. Instead of backing down like I usually do, I stayed calm and kept asking questions. "Sarah, your phone was connected to Nathan's specific network. It had remembered the password. When did you connect to his Wi-Fi?" She got quiet for a long time. Then she started crying. Not the kind of crying that feels genuine, but the kind that's meant to make me feel bad for questioning her. She said I was being controlling and that she couldn't believe I didn't trust her. That's when something clicked. Over the past year, every time I'd question something or express discomfort, she'd turn it around on me. I'd end up apologizing and trying to make her feel better instead of getting answers to my questions. So I waited. I just sat there and waited for her to actually answer my question. Finally, she admitted she'd been to Nathan's place a few times when I was at work. She said they'd become friends and would sometimes hang out, and she didn't tell me because she knew I'd get weird about it. My blood went cold. "How many times, Sarah?" "I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 times over the past few months. It's not a big deal. 4 or 5 times. My girlfriend had been secretly meeting up with my best friend at his house while I was at work, and she'd hidden it from me for months. I asked her what they did during these hangouts. She said they'd watch movies, talk. Sometimes she'd cook for him because he never eats properly. She insisted it was completely innocent and that I was making it weird. But guys, here's what really messed me up. I started thinking about all the times over the past few months when Sarah had mysteriously known things about Nathan that I hadn't told her. Like when she brought up that his mom was visiting without me mentioning it, or when she knew he'd gotten a promotion before I did. At the time, I thought maybe I'd forgotten telling her, but now it all made sense. I asked her why she'd kept it secret if it was so innocent. "Because I knew you'd react exactly like this," she said. "You get jealous and possessive, and I didn't want to deal with it." This hit me like a truck because it made me question myself. Am I jealous and possessive? But then I remembered what one commenter wrote, that manipulators often accuse their victims of the exact behaviors they're trying to provoke. I told her I needed time to think, and she immediately switched tactics. Started talking about our moving in plans, how excited she was for our future, how this was just a misunderstanding that we could work through. She even suggested we could set better boundaries going forward. But I couldn't stop thinking about something one of you wrote. If it was innocent, why hide it? I called in sick on Monday and drove to my friend Marcus's place. Marcus went to college with me and Nathan, but he moved across town a few years ago, so I haven't seen him much lately. Sarah always said Marcus was negative energy and seemed to dislike when I hung out with him. Marcus took one look at me and said, "Dude, you look like hell. What's going on?" I told him everything. The isolation from friends, the financial emergencies, the secret meetings with Nathan, all of it. Marcus listened without interrupting, and when I finished, he was quiet for a long time. "Man," he said, "I've been wanting to say something for months, but I didn't know how to bring it up without sounding like a dick." He told me that he'd seen Sarah and Nathan together at a coffee shop near downtown about 6 weeks ago. They were sitting close, laughing, and it looked intimate. Marcus said he almost came over to say hi, but something about their body language made him hesitate. He said he'd been debating whether to tell me ever since. My hands were shaking as he told me this. 6 weeks ago was right around the time Sarah had that car emergency that cost me $800 to help fix. Marcus also told me something that made my stomach drop. He said that over the past year, whenever he'd suggest we all hang out or invite me to group events, Nathan would make excuses for why I couldn't come. Sarah needs him that night, or they already have plans. Marcus said he'd started to feel like Nathan was gatekeeping our friendship. I left Marcus's place feeling like my entire reality had shifted. I drove around for hours, just processing everything. The woman I thought I was going to move in with had been secretly meeting my best friend for months. My best friend had been actively keeping me away from our other friends. I'd been isolated and financially drained, and I'd thought it was all just normal relationship stuff. I haven't talked to either Sarah or Nathan since Friday. Sarah has been texting me constantly, first angry messages about how I'm throwing away 2 years over nothing, then sweet messages about how much she loves me, then back to angry ones calling me immature. I'm staying at Marcus's place for a few days while I figure out what the hell to do next. My lease is up in 6 weeks. I've given Sarah money I can't afford to lose, and I don't know if I can trust my own judgment anymore. The worst part. I keep catching myself making excuses for both of them. My brain keeps trying to find ways this could all be innocent, even though every rational part of me knows it's not. How do you rebuild your life when you realize the two most important people in it have been lying to you? Edit. To everyone asking about confronting Nathan, I'm not ready yet. I need to get my head straight first. Several people have asked about the money. I went through my bank statements, and it's actually closer to $4,200 over the past year. I feel sick. Someone suggested I document everything before confronting Nathan. I'm starting a list of all the times Sarah mysteriously knew things about Nathan, all the emergencies, and all the times my plans with friends got derailed. Update 2. Posted 1 week ago. The support from this community has been incredible. Your messages and comments have kept me sane during the worst week of my life. I've been staying with Marcus and slowly piecing together just how deep this goes. I confronted Nathan yesterday, and it was worse than I imagined. First, some background that I've discovered since my last update. After talking with Marcus, I reached out to a few other friends I'd lost touch with over the past year. The pattern was consistent and terrifying. Tom from our college group said Nathan had told him I was too busy with Sarah to hang out anymore. Mike said Nathan had canceled plans on my behalf multiple times, claiming I had relationship stuff to deal with. Alex said he'd invited me to his birthday party 6 months ago, but Nathan told him I couldn't make it because Sarah had planned something special. I never received any of these invitations. Nathan had been acting as a gatekeeper, systematically cutting me off from our friend group while making it seem like it was my choice. But the financial stuff was even worse. I did more digging and realized that Sarah's emergencies had a pattern. They always happened right after I'd mentioned wanting to save money for something, a vacation, a new car, building an emergency fund. It's like she had a sixth sense for when I was getting financially stable. Yesterday, I finally went to Nathan's place. My hands were shaking as I knocked on his door, but I'd practiced what I was going to say with Marcus. Nathan opened the door and immediately got this guilty look on his face. "Hey man, I was wondering when you'd come by." "Were you?" I said. "Because you've been actively preventing me from talking to our other friends for months." His face went white. "What are you talking about?" I laid it all out. The Wi-Fi connection, Sarah knowing things about him, their secret hangouts, him gatekeeping my friendships. Nathan tried to deny it at first, but when I mentioned that Marcus had seen them together, he broke down. "It's not what you think," he said, which is apparently the universal phrase for "it's exactly what you think." He admitted they'd been hooking up for about 4 months. "It started," he said, "when Sarah came to him crying about how distant I'd become. She told him I was being controlling and that she needed someone to talk to. She'd come over to vent about our relationship, and one thing led to another." "She said you guys were probably going to break up anyway," Nathan said. "She said you'd been talking about seeing other people." I stared at him. "When did I ever say that?" "She said." He trailed off, and I could see the realization hitting him. "Oh shit, she played me, didn't she?" Nathan told me that Sarah had been feeding him a completely different narrative about our relationship. She told him I was emotionally distant, possibly cheating, and that I'd been talking about wanting to explore other options. She painted herself as trapped in an unhappy relationship with someone who didn't appreciate her. "She'd come over after you guys fought," Nathan said. "She'd be crying, saying how she just wanted to feel wanted by someone." "What fights?" I asked. "We barely fight." That's when the full picture started coming together. Sarah had been creating drama in our relationship that I wasn't even aware of, then running to Nathan to play the victim. She'd tell him I'd said things I never said, done things I never did. Nathan thought he was being a good friend by providing a shoulder to cry on. But here's the really sick part. Nathan admitted that Sarah had been the one to suggest he start making excuses for me with our other friends. "She said you were embarrassed about having relationship problems and didn't want them to see you struggling," he said. "She said it would be kinder to give you space to work things out." I felt like I was going to throw up. This woman had orchestrated my isolation so thoroughly that even my best friend thought he was protecting me while he was sleeping with my girlfriend. Nathan was crying at this point. "Dude, I thought I was helping. She made it sound like you didn't want to be around us anyway. She said you'd been complaining about how immature we all were." The manipulation was so sophisticated it was terrifying. Sarah had managed to isolate me from my friends while making it seem like it was my choice, drive a wedge between me and Nathan while positioning herself as the victim, and extract thousands of dollars from me while making it seem like I was being a supportive boyfriend. Nathan begged me to forgive him. He said he'd been planning to tell me everything because he'd started to suspect Sarah was lying about things. He said some of the stories she told him about our relationship didn't match the person he knew me to be. "I should have trusted my gut," he said. "I should have talked to you directly instead of believing everything she said." I told him I needed time to process everything, but that I appreciated his honesty. The messed up thing is, I actually feel bad for him too. Sarah had manipulated both of us, just in different ways. When I got back to Marcus's place, I found 17 text messages from Sarah. She'd apparently figured out that I'd talked to Nathan. The messages started sweet, "Baby, please call me, I love you," and quickly escalated to angry, "You're destroying our relationship over nothing." And then to desperate, "I'll do anything to fix this, please don't throw us away." The last message was the one that really got to me. "Nathan told me what he said to you. He's lying because he's jealous of us. He's been trying to break us up for months. Don't let him win." Even caught red-handed, she was still trying to manipulate the situation, still trying to make Nathan the villain and herself the victim. I blocked her number. Marcus helped me make a plan. Tomorrow, I'm going to my apartment, where Sarah still has a key with Marcus as backup to get my important stuff. I'm going to stay with Marcus until I figure out my next move. My lease is up in 5 weeks, and there's no way I'm moving in with Sarah now. The hardest part is that I keep having moments where I miss her. My brain knows what she did, but my heart hasn't caught up yet. Marcus says this is normal for people who have been psychologically manipulated, but it's confusing as hell. I've also been reading about emotional abuse and financial manipulation online. The patterns fit perfectly. The love bombing at the beginning, the gradual isolation, the financial control disguised as emergencies, the gaslighting when I questioned anything. I apparently dated a textbook emotional abuser and didn't even realize it. The money is probably gone for good, but honestly, I'm more worried about my ability to trust people going forward. If I couldn't see through Sarah's manipulation, how will I know if it happens again? One thing that's been helpful is talking to the friends Nathan had been keeping me away from. They've all been incredibly supportive and angry on my behalf. Tom said he knew something was off when Nathan kept making excuses for me because it was so unlike me to flake on plans. I have one more conversation I need to have. I need to call Sarah's friend Emma, the one she was supposedly texting the night I discovered the Wi-Fi thing. I'm starting to wonder if Emma even exists, or if that was just another lie to explain why she wanted me to check her phone. This community has saved my sanity. Thank you for helping me realize I wasn't crazy, that the red flags were real, and that I deserved better than what I was accepting. Edit. Several people have asked if I'm pressing charges or pursuing the money legally. I've been researching it, but it's complicated because I willingly gave her the money, even if it was under false pretenses. I called Emma. She exists, but she told me Sarah had never mentioned bringing anyone along that night. Another small lie in a web of massive ones. Thank you to everyone sharing resources about financial abuse and manipulation. I'm starting to understand that what happened to me has a name and that I'm not the first person to go through this. Final update. Posted 3 days ago. It's been 3 months since I discovered the Wi-Fi connection that unraveled my entire life, and I wanted to give you all a final update. First, the practical stuff. I found a new apartment across town and moved in 6 weeks ago. It's smaller than what Sarah and I had planned, but it's mine, and that feels incredible. I'm slowly rebuilding my savings. It's going to take a while to recover from the $4,200 I lost, but I've learned to see it as the cost of my freedom. Sarah tried everything to get me back. After I blocked her number, she created fake social media accounts to message me. She showed up at my work twice before I had to involve HR. She even tried to get to me through my family. She called my mom and told her I was having a mental breakdown and needed help. Thankfully, my mom saw right through it and told Sarah never to contact our family again. When those things didn't work, she even tried to use Nathan to get to me. About a month after everything came out, Nathan called me crying. Sarah had contacted him, claiming she was pregnant and that it might be his baby. She wanted him to convince me to take her back because we were a family now. It was a lie, of course. Nathan insisted she take a pregnancy test in front of him, and surprise, not pregnant. But the fact that she was willing to fake a pregnancy to manipulate us both still gives me chills. Marcus has become one of my closest friends through all this. He's helped me realize that real friends don't try to control or manipulate you. They support your growth and independence. One thing that still amazes me is how different my life feels now. I have energy again. I'm excited about things again. I didn't realize how much of my mental and emotional resources Sarah had been consuming until they were freed up. It took a random Wi-Fi connection to wake me up, but I'm so grateful it happened when it did. Moving in with Sarah would have made leaving even harder. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the best thing that could have happened. Thank you, Reddit, for helping me see clearly when I was lost in the fog of manipulation. You literally saved my life. Edit. For those asking about the money, I've accepted it's gone. $4,200 is a small price to pay for my freedom and my future.